Hi guys, this is Danny. I just wanted to make a video about compression, and I use Bleece compressor because I like it and I think it's quite clear to see what's happening. So what compression does is it reduces a signal above a certain threshold by a certain ratio. Now, this is easily more demonstrated than it is understood in words. So let me just start playing this beat, and you'll see here under source, you'll see the volume of the beat that is playing. Now you'll see there's a snare that goes up to this, but the bulk of the track is down here. There's a did I say kick or snare? There's a kick that goes up here, a snare that goes kind of halfway in between, and the rest is down below. Now, the nice thing about having the threshold right next to the source is if you reduce the threshold, you see that everything above the threshold is going to be reduced by this much, which means that the total signal can actually be made louder, which will compensate for the quiet bits being quieter than the loud bits. Let's turn that off and see. So it's got a bit more punch in everything but the kick. Now, if I reduce it further and increase the ratio, it will reduce. At the moment, it's only bringing the kick down a little bit, like by a ratio of 2. This can be made much higher, which will start to sound weird, but let's see. So it's bringing everything kind of more up to the level of the kick by reducing the kick, which makes the kick sound a bit snappy and short. Now this here is the gain reduction. So you'll see every time the kick hits, it's going down a lot. And that is reducing the kick by that much. So what you can do is allow the transient of the kick through while leaving the rest as loud as it is by turning the attack up. That's how fast it's going to actually start acting. Now you see it's much less of a gain reduction, and if you dial it in right, it will stop sounding like a pop. See how pop and like empty that kick sounds? Now if I increase that, it's actually letting the beginning of the kick through, but it's reducing the track by this ratio. Now, this ratio goes up to 60. All a limiter is effectively is a compressor with like a ratio of like 1,000 to 1 or greater, sometimes infinite. So it break walls, and anything above the threshold is just flatlined down. Now, compression is made for more subtle manipulation. Now, if you see here, if I increase the ratio, reduce the time, and see how quickly it snaps back after dropping down here, you can see it actually hits around where my mouse is now. If I increase the release, it just smooths out the release, basically. So it means that the compression is active for longer because the release is taking longer to let go of that reduction. So that's basically compression in a nutshell. All it's doing is anything that is above the threshold is reduced, and it's reduced quickly or more slowly, and then returns back to where it started slowly or more quickly. And what that means that you can do is create like less dynamic range where you want to. You can also use it with the sidechain. Now, basically what's happening here is it's acting on itself. So this source is the koala going in. Now, if I was to move this kind of kicky sound, if I move that to channel 2, then you won't hear it in the track, obviously. Right, so what we need to then do is start an audio channel in here, open a multi-bus koala, and you can probably see where this is going. If I open multi-bus here, I've got 2 compressors currently in my project. One on channel 1 slot 5, which is the one I'm using for my voice. In the same way as what I'm about to show you, it's side chaining, so my voice reduces the track by my voice as a source. And slot 2 is this one that we've been looking at. So let me just quickly show you the mic source. Now, I've got a really high ratio, and every time I speak, it goes up, and a low threshold. It's happening quite quickly, and it's releasing relatively slowly, like not too fast, but not taking ages. Now you see that it's actually reacting to my voice, and if I now play the track, you'll notice what's actually happening. So every time I speak, it's lowering the total track's volume down to here. And if I shut up for longer than the release, then you'll hear it go back to original volume. If I increase the release, then I've got longer to not shut up in before it then goes back to normal. Or I can bring it really low, and then as soon as I shut up, it gets loud. Okay, so that's basically all sidechaining is. Now, this one is going to react to this source. So you choose your sidechain source by loading this multi-instance on another channel. So in this case, it's the kick. And as soon as I engage sidechain, you'll see that this source changes from the track where there's gaps where the kick is to only reacting when the kick happens, right? This is how you get that kind of lo-fi, slow release kind of effect on tracks. Let me reduce that. Okay, so now you see that the kick has actually made space around the track. Now, it's not very obvious because everything here is percussive. Let me just start a weird noise. Let me hold that. Well, it won't filter it. Let's compress it, whatever. Right, so now this noise, without the sidechain compression, I'll have to play the track. Now you'll see that the kick is getting lost without side compression. Now with it on and a longer release, it actually makes it easier to hear what's happening. Now you might want a quicker attack so it gets out the way quicker. And you can always turn on listen, which just previews the source. And you can use this to filter the source and enhance it in some way, make it louder or quieter as the source of the sidechain. Now if sidechain is off, now you'll see that it's constantly being triggered because that horrible noise and everything is just constant. So even if I put release down low, it's just constantly being triggered. If I turn this back on sidechain, and you can do the same thing with this, you can high pass or low pass. Now it will use that as the source. But Yeah, so that's a way to make space around your track. Like now you can hear the kick a lot better, and I didn't actually make the kick any louder. It's just made the track quiet just when the kick hits, so you don't have to manually program things quiet. So that's basically it. That's sidechain, the compressor. This is the overall just gain addition or subtraction. The dry wet mixes it with the original signal, but you probably don't want to do that normally. And that's compression. So as you start to add one of these to all of your channels, you can just reduce the dynamic range in that channel, make mixing easier. If you then want if you want the sound of that channel to be reduced when something happens to get it out of the way, so that if you find that everything's playing at once and you can't hear what you're doing, like for example, if I turn the effects off and I put this kick back in here and press play, it's just a constant noise. But if I put it back in 2, it's just clearer because it's actually ducking the track out of the way. Now you obviously want to be careful with this and use it subtly most of the time. You don't want everything pumping out the way of everything else because it will make a big mess. But just experiment and see if it helps you in your mixes. And I will see you around.